on infertile women, and we usually try to help them to lose weight, not because just of for the fertility, because it also affects their general health. Obesity has a very bad effect on their health.
It affects the
Yes,
moods and
it
activities of the person.
it could affect their blood pressure. It could increase their chances of developing diabetes. They could have a lot of problems on the patient.
Now we'll talk about keys to your success. What
Okay.
were they?
There's a very interesting book that I've read. Two interesting books that I think that have changed the way of my way of thinking. One of them is a very famous book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that was written by Stephen R. Covey, and another book called The Secret.
Who's the author?
I can't remember the author right
Okay.
now. The messages that were very strong in these books was that you really have to, every person has to have a mission statement. Every successful institution, the first thing that you will find when you go in through this firm or this organization, you'll find a very clear mission statement, defining who they are, what they do,
Their
what are
goals.
their aims, and everything. So every person should have a mission statement. Our main mission in life, do you know what our main mission in life is?
No. Of course, each
To
one of
worship
us
God.
is worship
وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْإِنسَ وَالْجِنَّ إِلَّا
Yeah.
لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So our main mission in life is to worship God and to try to obey God in everything that we do. And under this mission, is trying to become the best person that you can on a moral level and on a professional level. On a professional level, you have to, your main aim as a clinician is to try to deliver the best quality service to your patients, the most up-to-date service. But you have to put certain goals in your life. And when you put these goals, these goals have to have certain criteria. First of all, these goals have to be achievable. You can achieve these goals. Second of all, we have to put these goals under two categories, short-term goals and long-term goals.
There's no medium term?
I like to define them this way. It's much simpler for me. The short-term goals, they have to be achievable. And these goals you can achieve in a relatively short period of time. The long-term goals, they can be achieved over a longer period of time. And at the end of the year, the term, whatever, you have to start revising yourself and see how much you have achieved of these goals. This is very important for every person to start dealing with his life in this very simple way.
Despite the heavy duty of your career, of course, you have a special viewpoint on sports. Tell us
Of
more
course.
about that.
Sports is a very important part of my life. I dedicate a lot of time for sports. Sports gives
And what do
you
you say to our viewers about sports and
sports.
how to blend it to their daily
Yes,
activities?
yes. You have to blend sports in your life. Sports not is it just good for your cardiovascular system and for oxygenation of the various organs. It also provides you with a hormone called endorphin. When you start to play sports, enroll yourself in sports, there's
Not
special
only
hormone.
football for the
Not
boss.
only football, the various sports. I used to play swimming, karate, and basketball, and I go to the gym regularly. This is important. This endorphin hormone is an antidepressant hormone. It makes you in a good mood, and it helps your thinking. It makes you more balanced, more focused. It helps you with your professional life as well. It helps you to interact with other people. When you play team sports, this helps you with interacting with
Social
people
community.
around you, social community. And this is something that sometimes we are lacking in Egypt. We don't have this teamwork, and everyone is working on his own, a one-man
We
show
don't
as
have
you
this
can.
culture.
So teaming up, or if you are raised up in a way that encourages you to employ in a team attitude, later on when you start your professional career, you'll always think in these terms, to work as a team. And working as a team is what caused a lot of countries to develop and become more developed.
Okay, that takes me to ask you about those people who inspired you.
First of all, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is طبعاً our inspiration, all of us as Muslims. My mother and father, they had a very important role in my life.
Who comes first, your mother or father?
The
Your
mother and
of course.
father. They have put a lot of work and dedication in raising me and my brothers and sister. They
It's
provided.
usually said that boys are affected much more with the mothers than
Of course,
their
because
fathers.
the mother naturally she has a lot more time to spend with her children, and she puts a lot of disciplines in her
boy.
children that really you start to realize later in
on
life.
that they-
My mother and father, they had a very important role in my life. I thank them يعني, all the time for providing me with everything that I required. The other person that really had an impact on my life is my aunt. She's a very respectable professional in the field of gynecology and obstetrics, and she really had a very strong impact on me, on teaching me skills.
And here we're sending them all your thanks.
Yes, I
and
thank them
greetings.
very, very much for all their help during the years.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about ultrasound. You have a special contribution using 3D and 4D. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about the difference between both of them.
Okay. One of the questions that a lot of patients ask is, what's the difference between 2D, 3D, and 4D ultrasound? What's the difference? Okay, the difference is very quite simple. In 2D, you're only working in 2 dimensions. That means the depth or the volume is not applicable, which is very important in cases of obstetrics and gynecology. In 3D, they've developed a
We're
system.
quite acquainted with 3D, but 4D, it's
I will explain to you what's the difference between 3D and 4D. In 3D, it's a static image. It's a static image. It does not move. In 4D,
For me, I know it, but we can explain it
yes,
for the viewer.
that means we're seeing the volume, but in a static motion, that means it's still. The image is still. In 4D, we're getting the volume, but at the same time, we have the advantage of having the movement, a live movement at the same time. So you can see the baby waving for you, the baby yawning, the baby's movements, which is very important sometimes in some diseases.
And then what's 4D?
This is
This
the
is
4D.
4D.
Yes, live motion 3D, which is 4D. Now there is a newer technology that is developing, is 4D high definition. You see the baby high definition as if you're seeing the real image, and this is very compelling for us. This is a very important branch in obstetrics, and a lot of women think that this is only important in obstetrics to see their baby. It also comes. It's also important in gynecology, especially in cases of infertility. It's very important to visualize the uterus, which is the womb or the place where the baby is going to be developing, and you can see the uterus and make sure that you don't have any problems or focal lesions inside the uterus that could affect the woman. You can also see tumors such as ovarian cancers to make sure that you don't have any kind of lesions that might develop for the women.
What's this place that we are in today? It's a special center. Tell us more about the place
This
and
is,
the activities taking place here.
This is a center of excellence
And its mission, of course.
attributed to the National Research Center. It has a very good mission. The mission of this center is to provide high medical quality services to the general population at very affordable prices, so that you don't overburden the poor patients or the patients that do not have enough money to come here to get the latest quality, best medical quality service, to have a service where you are treated with dignity, and this is very, very important. And also, one of the missions of this institution is to provide research in the medical field, research that will help not just the Egyptian population, but all over the world.
Okay. You attended a scientific meeting on economic solutions for national problems. Give us some information on that.
This is very important.
And what sort of national problems?
Okay. When we're thinking about something national or something on a wide scale of the population, you have to think also economically, or economics. Economics comes into everything. It's very easy to provide the highest quality medical service, but sometimes it comes at a high price. If it has a very high price or a very high budget, you will not be able to apply this on a larger field of the population. In order to provide a decent service to a wider amount of population, you have to have a service that is also economic, meaning economically feasible. You have to always think about something called cost-benefit. It's very important. One of the very common cancers in women is breast cancer. So we have to find a way or a solution that is formulated for Egyptian women to prevent the incidence of breast cancer. Women have to have an education to learn how to examine themselves and when to go to the doctor and what's the alarming signs and symptoms that they should feel before, that should imply them or urge them to go see a clinician for this lesion. Also, uterine cancer is it is the second most common cancer in gynecology. Also, there are screening programs to prevent uterine cancer, and also cancer cervix, which is less common in Egypt and the Middle East. But also, we have a screening program for cervical cancer. If you can apply these screening programs, you can try to prevent the incidence of the disease, and this is going to help, and this is going to be more economic for the state. It's much easier to prevent the disease than to spend lots of money and employ a lot of resources in treating the disease.
Okay. What about the ICSI, which is the
Intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
Okay.
ICSI.
Yeah. And what's your contribution to this field?
Okay. ICSI was developed in the world in 1973. The first baby that was born to IVF was called Louise Brown. And ever since that time, the whole world has been, no, it was in England. And the whole world has been compelled by the field of assisted reproduction, or IVF. It is a it's a procedure by which we stimulate the ovaries. And when we stimulate the ovaries, we go in through a very fine catheter, and we start to retrieve the oocytes, okay? And then we inject the sperms inside these oocytes. They start to develop into embryos, and then we reinsert the embryos into the woman. It has a pregnancy rate of about 50%. This is all over the world. And it provides a very meaningful way to help the patients that have the problem of infertility. It was very compelling for me to not just learn the ICSI, but also to keep up to date with all the latest research developed in this field. I'm also contributing to research into this field. We do a lot of research here in the National Research Center, in which we try to improve the pregnancy rate, in which we try to ease the problems of the patients. We try to develop innovative ways to improve the success rate of intracytoplasmic sperm injection, or ICSI.
Finally, before we go, what is it that you dream of?
I dream, I have a national dream of Egypt. I really wish, and I hope, and I hope that we overcome our obstacles, and we see Egypt as a developed country, and we see Egypt on the right track, on
come over this harsh
come
period.
over the hardships that we are facing in these tough times. And I wish that we improve the medical services in Egypt. We provide the most up-to-date technology in treating our patients.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining
You're
us.
welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.